We are live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Greetings and salutations. Greetings and salutations. I actually
Did
did have tacos today for Taco Tuesday.
you?
I did, and they were delish.
You're lucky. I am on a cleanse
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had like a protein shake for dinner.
Okay.
Then I meal prepped and I had like chicken and shrimp, kale and asparagus.
So
I'm actually getting really good today.
you're doing protein and veggies primarily?
Yeah, primarily protein and veggies and like fruit. So this morning I had oatmeal with fruit in it. I'm trying to cut carbs and sugar,
Mm-hmm.
which is really hard because you start going through sugar cravings. And I'm like super grouchy. Well, it hasn't been that long. Like I literally, it's been 24 hours.
That's the hardest part, the first couple of days. And once you get through that, hey,
It is.
Lee.
Hi guys.
Hello, Miss Keandra. How are
Hi
you?
Keandra. Hold on, I'm just going live really quick so I can remind folks to come up in here.
Okay. Hi,
Hi
Lola.
guys. Okay. Well, I need to take this picture, so I look cute.
Oh, God. Hello, Mother.
Hi.
Let me go ahead and share.
Hey guys.
As y'all are coming in, if you don't mind doing us a favor and sharing with your people, sharing on your pages, tagging folks,
Yes.
invite people in and let them know that we are live and Good Love is about to start. And I'm going to do the same right now. We're live. Hope y'all had a great day. We're going to give people, as usual, a couple of minutes to come on in. So hope y'all uh, get settled in and enjoy this conversation. And yeah, just invite others to come on in, like the live if you don't mind. What I understand, it helps for it to circulate around. So if you don't mind liking the live, as well as, of course, if you haven't subscribed, which I believe y'all are some regulars, so y'all probably have already subscribed, but also share. Um, and that would help us quite a bit. And we're going to wait a couple of more minutes to let people come on in. Greetings, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Greetings and salutations. Yeah. So I know y'all see Carrie's lips moving, but you can't hear her. And that's because she's going live to let her Instagram folks know that we're live. So they can also join us. So yeah, we will get started in a moment. Share it to how y'all doing? Y'all can go ahead and talk in the comments while how was your day today? Let me just say for me, it started out a little emotional. But I feel better now. I feel better. I had to get me some get right. I had to give me some get right this morning. Hi,
Yeah, some
Nancy.
days. It's just one of them days.
Yes.
I wanna be when I'm angry
Cue
inside.
Monica. Cue old
Yeah.
school Monica.
Yes. Listen, I have been there. I actually, it's been like that for like the last few weeks, so I get it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. Hey,
Mhm.
Jonathan.
I had to put on some Joel Osteen this morning, and usually that has been my routine. And I was like, I'm missing something. Something has been missing, and it's
Yeah.
been my inspirational stuff that I do daily that really gives me that dose of positivity that
Yeah.
I need throughout the day. So I was
Mm.
like, you know what? Let me listen to some Joel today so I can be in a better spiritual mood.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's TDJs, but I need to hear some inspirational stuff. So
Yep, yep, that's exactly what I did. I pulled out the
mhm.
audio Bible. I had well, this morning I had to pull out the hardcover because I
Oh, you
usually
pulled out
have
the
the
hardcover.
hardcover. You know it's serious when you pull out the hard cover. I had to pull out
Seriously.
the hardcover and whip out some
You're like, Lord, let me pull up a scripture. I need a scripture. I speak it. Thank you
yeah.
guys for joining us tonight. We see you guys coming in here. Get in here, get in here. So we can talk about our lovely discussion of things that kill relationships. Woo, child. Listen, I have been a sabotager. I absolutely have been a relationship sabotager. I have been there and not knowing that I've done it. And there are times where I go into sabotage mode due to fear
Mhm,
or as a few things, and
mhm,
also like even after being healed, I still have those moments where I have to fight the urge of trying to kill a relationship
mhm.
just due to, the fear of being hurt and things of that such. So what about you, sis? Have you ever sabotaged a relationship, not on purpose, but like as you reflect, you're like, I see
Mm.
why he was sick of me.
I've had my moments. I've had my moments. I would say more so, um, I'm more quick to cut it off before it gets too deep for me.
Mhm, mhm,
The relationships I've actually been in, once I'm in it, I'm deep in it, and I will go to the edge of the ledge. But
mhm,
it's when it's getting there,
mhm.
and especially after my major relationships, I mean, it's kind of like my whole energy is I ain't going through that again. So I will
Right.
my phrase is fade to black. I will fade to black, you know.
First of all, can I take a pause real quick because these red lips is giving what they need to give. You need to tell, because I know they're gonna want to know what color you have on, sister. Do you know what color you have? Because I want to know. Because that is
Oh,
beautiful red on you. You are looking
thank
fabulous with the leopard and the
you.
red. Sis. I gotta hype you up when you always look good, but you are giving. I'm like barely listening what you're saying, sis. You're looking good.
Thank you, sister. Oh,
You're
actually, I don't. I think it's one of the Maybelline soft mattes,
welcome.
vivid. I'll have to look because I actually don't know the exact color, but it's a
Okay,
Maybelline
you're gonna have
soft
to tell
matte.
me. Tell
Yeah.
me maybe in the chat later or something. Do y'all want to know what color sis red lips are? Because they are looking wonderful.
Oh God. Thank you,
Am I
sister.
embarrassing you?
Appreciate the
Don't be
compliment.
embarrassed.
Yes, you embarrassed me. My caramel is red. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so finish what you were saying. I
Yeah,
was
I
listening.
think for me, that's been the main thing. Like I will cut any sign of something, and I have really tried to get better at that in the last, I don't know, few years.
Mhm, mhm.
But I'm really sensitive to pain,
Yeah,
and I think that is usually the catalyst for sabotage knowingly or unknowingly, but yeah,
yeah.
I think so. Mm.
Yeah, I totally get it. And it's crazy because my relationships from when I was younger, and we're gonna read through highlights of some probably common things that people do that can cause your relationship to go to deaden if it continues to happen, if you don't address this before being in a relationship. Um, and as we go over these things, since we can give examples of if we personally been through it or what we think of these highlighted areas that can cause your relationship to flop. And I really want you guys to listen. I also want you guys to comment on the side and let us know your thoughts as well. If you have been through or have someone done this to you, or if you've been the person who has taken this action to someone else when you're in a relationship. And the goal is to we don't want to kill relationships. We want them to last. So let's educate ourselves on what we can do to help with that. Okay.
Yes.
So the first thing that can kill relationship is ignoring unresolved trauma.
That's a biggie.
That's a huge one. Unresolved traumas, meaning it doesn't have to be due to relationships, even. It could be a trauma that you have gone through personally,
Mhm.
within your family or childhood or anything that is unresolved that you could bring into that relationship where you're expecting that person maybe to understand but be that person to help you with the healing process, or you know what I mean,
Right.
like relying on that person to make you feel better with the traumas that you've encountered,
Yeah.
and expecting them to already know.
Mhm.
I know, in for example, in a relationship that I've been in, that their unresolved traumas, they put a lot of that burden on me. And it was exhausting. It
Mhm.
was exhausting because it was steady trying to dig them out of that hole when they're in there, or
Mhm.
there's triggers where I'm not aware of these triggers. So
Yeah.
um, I do believe when you're going through this, it's very important to heal or even communicate that this is something that's happened to you. So, what are your thoughts on this, sis?
Yeah, that is a huge one, and I think that a lot of us bring, like, specifically childhood stuff. A lot of us
Mhm.
had some bumps and bruises coming up that, w- uh, unless you've already started the process of doing the work to even get clued in that you've had
Right.
some effects from past stuff, then we bring that into relationships, and then but we actually talked about this on another segment when it
Mm.
was something about how much responsibility does your partner have to heal your hurt, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
and it can be kind of burdensome to
Mhm.
another person when you actually feel like it's their responsibility and you treat them like it's their responsibility,
Mhm.
or you're not even clued in that you have issues.
Mhm.
Some people haven't even started the process to say, yes, okay, this affected me, and this is why these certain things are triggers and all that kind of stuff. So I know for me, I had some self stuff to work through.
Yeah.
And I think the younger you are when you get in a like serious relationship, then the more prone you are to do that thing where you're
Yeah.
leaning a lot on the other person
Mhm.
to help heal your wounds, or they have to deal with a lot of fallout from your wounds and immaturity,
Yep.
together with that. So I know my very first, first time I was in a serious relationship, I was 19. I was bringing all kind of junk to the table.
Yeah, listen,
I had
I'm
to say I
guilty.
put the brother through it. I put the brother through it.
I'm guilty. And we won't even know sometimes until we get into a relationship. Sometimes we think we're fine,
Yeah.
and then you get into a relationship and that first person you fall in love with, and you're having all these feelings that you're not familiar with, that
Mhm.
rears up some other things that you have going on. You're like, why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
I know with my first marriage, my unresolved trauma was things that I saw in my childhood,
Hmm.
and I brought that into my marriage,
Yeah.
and not realizing until I'm seeing my actions with my the person that I supposedly love, and how I'm treating them. Um, you know, now that I'm healed, I realize, oh yeah, that was definitely sabotaging the relationship. That killed the relationship. Other things in his actions killed it too, but we talk about me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
yes, not me. But yes, I absolutely had something to do with killing the relationship as well, due to dealing with unresolved traumas and not realizing, and when you're at the point where you're not accepting that this is a problem or an issue, that's when it's like a continuous pattern. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
don't if you're in these relationships and you keep blaming the other person, and it's something that keeps happening over and over again with different people, more than likely it's you, and you need to self-reflect and see what's going on within you that's affecting these relationships that seem to go downhill.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I will say that even though I had some hot mess moments,
Mhm.
I
I
will
miss
say
you.
that when I've always been a communicator, right?
Mhm.
So that was my saving grace and why, he did not run,
Yeah. Yeah.
because because I've always been an expresser and a communicator, and we did communicate through a lot of things, even as I questioned myself, even at that young age, like why I was responding, certain ways. And I would analyze through. I think that's when that analyzing part of myself comes in
Mhm.
handy.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse, a blessing and a
Yes.
curse. But the blessing part is
Mhm.
that I self-analyze as well. So when I'm like, why am I behaving this way, or why am I feeling this way? And I will analyze that thing and evaluate until I get to the root of it. And I've
Yeah.
always been that way. So that has been the kind of saving grace in those moments, even, in the like my very first relationship or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
good, good. That's good self-awareness.
Yeah.
I definitely did not get self-awareness until later on in
Mm.
my adulthood for sure, because my communication was garbage. It was terrible. I was like, oh my God, I don't even see how I ended up in these relationships, to be honest with you. Okay. So the second highlight to that can kill a relationship is not paying attention to belief systems and values.
Mm.
This is important, guys.
Yes.
Um, an
Yes.
example with this is we can talk about spirituality, your beliefs. Um, Also, the reason why this is very important is if this is a person that you plan on having a family with, so you also kind of have to align with how you want to raise your children.
Yeah.
So not aligning with the same belief systems and values, I feel like where people miss this part is when you're trying to force someone to believe in what you believe versus just accepting that this is who they are and you deciding if you want to continue on with that relationship. If you're clashing and you have different beliefs and this is something that's extremely important to you, then it's probably best to put that person as a friend or realize that it's probably not someone that you should be romantically involved with, which is
Mhm.
okay. Um, Sister, what are your thoughts on
Oh
that?
yeah, that's a big one for me personally too,
Mhm.
because I've always had a strong, um, I've been a strong follower of Christ or whatever. And I say it that way because I've had my whole losing my religion,
Mhm.
whatever thing, but I still am a strong follower of Christ. And I one time try to say be open to partnering with someone who did not believe what I did and the foundational tenets, right?
Mhm.
And it didn't work. Ultimately it didn't work. I think that that's one of those things that the moment that you should have these conversations early, I would say. Okay, this
Yes.
is one of those conversations in the same voices, the same
Mhm.
part that you're asking, have you ever been married, do you have kids? This should be a part of that early conversation when you're getting to know someone, because you just need to fall back if it's not in alignment, because that is a major thing for many of us that have faith, or even for those who can leave them atheist brothers. Okay, I don't do the atheism, definitely not. But listen, even for someone who is an atheist, say for
Yeah.
instance, the person is an atheist, you would say, quote, they don't have any faith, but actually they do have a belief system, which is I
Mhm.
don't believe.
Right.
So that is going to be a major clash,
Mhm.
in life. So it's just better. That's one of those things that don't skate around it. I know, there's people that I know that have, Muslims marrying Christians, or Christians, getting with other, and I haven't seen it work. I'm just
Mm,
gonna say I haven't seen it work, or someone ends up majorly compromising their
yeah.
beliefs, which means they're not being their full selves,
Yeah.
that's a major thing. And then I also think about stuff like your other values, like, say for instance, you're a one woman, right? Okay, one woman, whatever. Yeah, one
One
man
man
woman.
woman. Or one woman woman. We
Whatever,
listen,
whatever.
whatever it is you want.
One
Uh-huh.
person, right? And you are talking to someone and you find out that they don't subscribe to that. They like the poly lifestyle. They like
Mhm.
the swinging lifestyle. They like, that they like bringing other people in a relationship. Those are some of the things that fall in that category too. Like either somebody is going to majorly compromise, or someone is, or you just really, I mean, it should be, in my opinion, it should be a no-go. If you're not
Yeah.
down, it should be a no-go. Run immediately. Don't even
Yeah. And honestly, that's based on what's important to you, and some people will compromise, or they'll fool themselves into thinking that something that was important to them, because they like that person so much, that they are changing their values or their beliefs to force the connection.
Mhm.
And then next thing you're feeling resentful, or you're
Yeah.
feeling guilty, or you're feeling like you lost yourself because of what you originally believed in previous of that person. You kind of altered to match what they believe in. So,
Right.
just be true to yourself when it comes to that, because it can break a relationship if you end up not being realistic on your values and your beliefs, and what you truly desire in a mate for a long-term relationship. I've done that a couple of times,
Mhm.
where, and especially the spiritual part, and it never works, because I do believe in building that foundation. I don't think that you have, without God and in my Christian beliefs, I don't believe that without that foundation, it's like I need to have, I need to be praying with my husband. That's what I desire. And there's just certain things that is important to me in order for the relationship to be strong and continue to strengthen.
Mhm.
Um, and without those, it's just, I've seen it crumble. I've seen it fall.
Mhm.
So
Let me
that's
ask you this real quick, sis, because you said a key point: be true to yourself on these things.
Mhm.
Why the times that you did it a couple of, was it purely because you just liked that person so much? Well, what were your core reasons for compromising on like those major values like that?
It mainly was because I like that person, and I didn't want to accept that this is probably not going to work, and I started making up in my mind, like, oh, maybe it's not that important. There's been times where guys are like, oh, like the guys who say marriage is a piece of paper. I can't mess with you. And I've tried to like
Yeah.
alter and like, oh, well, maybe it is. I mean, we can have like a long-term relationship. No, I desire marriage. So
Yeah.
I've have gone back and forth with that, just on the basis of trying to agree with the guy who I liked. So that's when, and I think that's also a self-esteem thing. You have to be sure of yourself,
Yeah.
and love yourself and accept yourself, and if that's who you are, don't stray away from who you are just so someone can like you. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're not being for real. We talked
Yeah.
about that last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good points. Very good points.
Mhm.
And it just, this is why I fade to black pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is
You're
why
like
I'm trying to find a balance. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'd be like,
like the Homer Simpson in the bush. You
right.
go, let me.
I do. I mean, because I don't want to get attached. I don't
Right,
want, because once you start liking a person, especially for women like us, that like our feelings run deep. So if
right.
once we start allowing those feelings to develop, that's when it starts getting real hairy. That's when you
Mhm.
start finding yourself compromising, and that's why I'm like, I fade to black pretty quickly, especially if I know I have the potential of really getting into this person.
Right.
And I
It's better to detach,
yeah,
especially if you know that it's not something that you desire to have long term.
yeah.
Detach. Because
Mm.
them hormones and them emotions and them sexual, that lust, man, that lust will have you like, ah!
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly.
And the next point is an inability to express or regulate feelings. So someone who's not able to express themselves, like sis, you said that you're a great, one of your strengths is communication. You're able to express yourself.
Mhm.
Um, I have been my last relationship. My God, it was I was like, it was like pulling teeth to understand what he was feeling and what he wanted, and it's like
Oh,
he could not say it. And our family's big on communication. Period. I
mhm.
mean, we're all together, we're all talking at the same time. You can't shut us up. And like, you literally do not have to guess how we feel, right? Like, we're going to express how we feel. We will have we will have the uncomfortable conversations. Like, that's
Yeah,
just how we were raised. That's how we are. So
yeah,
to be with someone who's not like that at all, that doesn't sit well for me personally. And I think in any relationship, if you're not able to express yourself or communicate your feelings,
mhm,
um, that it's going to go downhill. It's going to
yeah,
end because you can't expect your partner to know how you feel, and
mhm,
your partner's going to want to know how you feel, and also you need to be expressive to each other in
yeah,
order to be able to get to that next level or even resolve issues, conflicts
mhm,
that you may have.
yeah,
People who aren't expressive, that's when you sweep a lot of stuff under the rug, and everything explodes because you're letting things stack because you're not
mhm.
expressive. You're not letting someone know, hey, I don't like when you do this. Hey, I don't like when you do that. And then you be like, you know what? You are getting on my and you just go crazy. Start throwing things. You're like, oh my gosh, she's a psycho.
Oh
So,
God.
you
Yeah,
gotta let your partner know where you stand, and it's really important to be able to express how you feel. So, sister, what are your
yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really that's so important. And it's interesting today I saw a video. Jerry Flowers. He's a minister out of somewhere. But anyway, I saw his a TikTok video where he was talking about he talked to his son. His son was getting angry at him. He said he was angry at him, and so he was going to go into his room, right? And he's
Mhm.
like, "Wait a minute, hold on. Why are you angry at me?" And he made him express. He was really angry because his boxing gloves weren't working and blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
he went through the process of talking him through his feelings and guiding him through expressing what he actually was feeling, and also encouraging him, don't go into your room because you're not really mad at dad, you're just
Right.
upset because the gloves are not working and blah blah blah. And to
Mhm.
me it was a powerful story because what it showed it's men and women equally, but I have to say I've experienced with men a challenge with expressing their feelings in a healthy way and
Mhm.
expressing what they're actually feeling and
Mhm.
especially in the moment, because some of them it can be they just go from 0 to 100. It just anger, just all of it
Mhm.
is just anger that comes out.
Mhm.
And then the other people, they just shut down completely, and
Mhm.
you have no idea what the problem is. And just being able to express it, I mean, I'm telling you honestly, after my last situation, that was like, oh, that's a deal breaker for me. Sorry,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is a deal breaker for me. Because as much as some people like to say, I can't read your mind. A lot of women are accused of that a lot. But reality is, from my experience, there are plenty of gentlemen that hold their stuff in, and it manifests in dysfunctional ways like aggression, anger, all of that. And
Do
yeah.
you, audience guys, do you agree with Maisha? Do you feel like men express themselves different than women, and when they do express themselves, it's most usually either 0 to 100, or they just kind of shut it down. I find it highly attractive when a man knows how to express himself in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I do. It turns me on. I find it highly attractive when we're able to have, and when when we're upset with each other, that we're able to express our feelings in a healthy way,
Yeah.
or for him to actually lead the conversation and sit me down and be like, talk to me. What's up? What's going on? You seem like you're upset.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's something that is uncommon with people I've dated, but I also think that it's a few factors where we kind of have to give some of the men grace based on how they were raised,
Mhm.
the way that society expects them to be. Oh, men don't cry, don't act like no punk, don't do this. And so they hold things in
Mhm.
because they think that's the masculine way of dealing with your emotions.
Yeah.
And that's not.
Mhm.
It's okay to cry, it's okay to express yourself. It's what's not masculine or what's not healthy is when you lose your damn mind. And I've
Yeah.
had that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a major turnoff,
Yeah.
uh, to where you just explode. And there's women like that. I think both sexes are guilty of not knowing how to communicate in a healthy way. And I think also a lot of people who think they know how to communicate in a healthy way don't.
Mhm.
They say
Right.
they do, but they don't. And
Right.
that comes with self-awareness and also healing, because if
Yeah.
you still got things pent up, or anger, or that you still got a lot of things that you're dealing with on the inside, that's causing you to lose control that you haven't gotten control of, you're not going to be a good communicator, because there's going to be triggers that's going to happen, and you're not going to know how to react or be aware that that's a trigger for you to where you just react,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
so.
And this is the other thing that I've found too. Some people, so there are some men that are emotional, right? And they're
Mm,
in touch with their emotions, right? But they still are not good communicators. So, for
mhm,
instance, I had a situation where the man was, wasn't one of those that held, like, he would express emotionally, meaning that he wasn't, he could cry and all of that kind of stuff or whatever. He would get, but be expressive like that. But in terms of actually communicating his feelings, processing through his feelings and communicating those feelings out, he was horrible.
mm,
Horrible. And
mm,
I think that he thought that because he's, in touch with his emotions, being in touch with your emotions and not is not the same thing as being a good communicator. So I just want
right.
to put that out there for let's break the fallacy on that,
Yeah.
and that's for anybody, men, women, whatever. It's, because some women, they use their emotionalism to manipulate.
Mhm,
Right? A
mhm,
woman that busts out crying at every time she's displeased or whatever, and she knows that the brother can't stand when she cries, so he gonna now give you
mhm.
whatever you want. No, that is
That'll get old for
still
him too.
exactly
He be like, "I know them crocodile ass tears."
right.
Um, let's look at some of the comments we have here.
Mm,
So Miss D Brown said, men absolutely express themselves differently. I have been with my husband 20 years, and I must admit he is not a great communicator or expressing himself well.
mm.
Um, so Miss Brown, tell us, just quickly, let us know, how have you been able to stay married for 20 years, with you saying that he's not the best communicator? Did you learn different ways of communicating with him? Like, I'm very curious on how y'all lasted for this long, and your husband, that's kind of something that your husband needs to work on. Help us out, 'cause we're trying to get to where you getting to. Where you at? Okay, hold on, let me scroll back up here. Okay, Crystal said, I agree, but I do think we as women have to give men some grace in this area. That's when I feel we as women bringing our feminine energy to them would help them. Okay. What do you think of that, sister? Because I feel like that nod was a. I I know that nod. I know when you wholeheartedly agree, and I know when you got something else to say. What you think about that?
Well, let me just say all of it still goes back to the willingness of each individual.
Right.
If the person that, like, I can bring all my feminine energy. I can use all of my skills and communication skills or whatever, but I still can't make him do it. I can't make him open up if he does not. If
Right.
he for whatever reason he hasn't processed. And I will say, the older the man is, it just can be, because there's certain patterns. And
Mhm.
if the person has not begun to, again, healing is the word. Healing
Yeah.
is definitely the word. If the person has not begun to heal or even understand why they even, respond or don't respond the way that they do, and actually do something about it, then I cannot make that person, and vice versa, just like they can't make me. So that's
Mhm.
the only thing I'll say about that. I think that we can, in coming together, like, you can create that safe space for a person, um
Mhm.
but they still have to walk through the door and
Right, they have to
participate.
receive it. Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
participate. And I agree. I agree with kind of both comments. I do agree that the person has to be willing to open up and be expressive. Like, you can do everything in the sun, but if that's just not something they want to do or will do, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I also will say, when she says the feminine energy part, there are women who be like, "Tell me what you thinking. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Tell me
uh
what's up. Why you why you That's not gonna make a man, he gonna be like, oh, she's drama and I don't want to deal with this. So the
it makes
feminine
you.
energy, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Feminine energy. Like, I've learned in therapy, if you touch someone, like, even if it's on their if you touch their hand, and this is not when it's upset, in a calm environment, when it's calm,
Yeah.
if you touch them and just be like, hey, talk to me.
Mhm.
That kind of calms the person down, or it'll help them
Yeah.
to feel more vulnerable. So there are certain actions that the partner can take to make the person feel more open to communicate. But it is up to that person. But regardless, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me add to what you just said, because even though I'm an expression communicator, gentlemen also understand that, like, I've had situations where something was going on with me right then. And, like, say for instance, I am emotional, and I've had someone try to force, like, they were aggressively like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong?
Mhm.
And I'm telling you that
Yeah,
makes you do this because you don't feel safe. The person
yeah,
is going, and it's really not, because what you feel is that you're not really concerned about me. You are uncomfortable with the state that I'm in right now. So you just want me to hurry up and tell you what's wrong. And maybe I can't speak right now. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So we have to be, on both ends. Like, the aggression and the, whatever, make sure the motive is really out of concern for the other person, and trying to, get them to really open up in a healthy way as well.
right, right. Agreed. Casino Price Pernum Phillips. That's a very long name. Could we also say passion instead of emotional? Okay. Um, I mean, yeah, passion, emotional. We can whatever makes you more comfortable. Understandable.
Although
Um,
that's slightly different, but okay.
yeah. Um, Crystal said, I also believe that men do express themselves just in different ways. Their actions speak volumes, in my opinion. Okay. I mean, yes, some men are more action oriented. And I guess that's whatever, I guess, fits for you. Like, if you're okay with it being more actions than them being expressive, then whatever floats your boat. I need to be able to sit down and talk to my man.
Mhm.
Actions are great, but I can't read your mind. So if you're cooking dinner and that's your way of saying you're sorry, Like I need to hear sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to hear I apologize because, just cooking dinner and saying you ready to eat, I'm gonna be like eating my food hard or going to the room and eat.
And then what about if the person is upset?
Mm,
I would prefer you not punch a hole in the wall
right.
to express, that's an action to
Yeah.
express. Obviously, I see something is wrong. I would rather you not do that and say, listen, I'm really angry right now, and this is why, and I'm gonna go cool off. Like
Mhm.
that's to me a more healthy way. So actions can go a number of ways. So, but
Yes.
yeah. Hey, Daddy.
Hey, Daddy. Our father says brothers run a broad spectrum from laconic cowboy to Eddie Murphy. What do you
What is laconic?
mean?
I
That,
don't understand. I don't understand what you
I
mean.
don't either. We need you to further explain, Father. Thank you. Um, my friend is in a verbally abusive relationship. How does one help? Tell her to get out.
Mhm.
Verbal abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. I have been in a verbally abusive relationship. I have dated someone and got out of Dodge who tried to verbally abuse me. Let her know there's nothing that she can do or should do to try to fix that. He needs to go fix himself, and she needs to remove herself from that relationship. That's all that she needs to do.
Well, let me add something to that because I slightly let me put another spin on that. I think I I do agree that verbal abuse is just as bad as physical abuse, and a lot of people don't really understand that.
Mhm.
However, I think that there should be a conversation to be had previous to just leaving the relationship if she's never addressed it. Okay. Now, if she's addressed it, then, bounce. But sometimes, as we talked about earlier, people's background, what they were raised in. Like, I am horrified by some of this stuff that I see parents doing to their kids, cussing their kids out, or calling them all
Mhm.
everything but a child of God, talking to them crazy, all this stuff. And guess what? Those kids, that's what they in turn, that's how they learn to communicate. So you do have those people that have come up in such dysfunction that that's normal to them. And so if 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 she has not addressed it with the person and pointed out specifically, listen, this is not healthy for me. I do not like this. And if this does not change, then I have to leave this relationship or whatever. Then I think she should have the conversation because you just, depending on the person's background. Now, if they, you know, because
Absolutely.
some people really are not aware that this is not how you.
Listen,
I'm,
if you grown, nah. If you grown and you're not
I'm
aware on how to, nah. This is where we're talking about ignoring the unresolved traumas. And maybe because for me, that is words of, affirmation is one of my love languages.
Mhm.
So if you are talking to me like crap, that's not tapping into that's not tapping into love for me. And to me, the moment a man cusses me out for the first time, I'm for where I'm at now in life, I'm not even gonna have a conversation. I'm done. Like the conversation will be I'm done. I'm not
Mhm.
necessarily going to give you a map on how to communicate to me with love. If you don't know how to do that, now someone not knowing how to communicate is different, but someone blatantly being verbally abusive, like that's like telling a person, well, because we just agreed that physical and verbal are the same. So
Mhm.
somebody slapped you across the face because they grew up in an abusive family household where he saw his mama get beat. Do you stay and talk to him about the slap, or do you leave? I'm
Mm,
leaving.
yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
leaving too. Well, he's not gonna
yeah.
get the opportunity to slap me.
Well,
Okay,
that's the thing.
but
Sometimes a
so
Negro will try it, so it's just,
that's what I'm saying. No,
yeah.
what I'm saying is either way, whether it's physically abusive or verbally abusive, because she says she's in that
Mhm.
she's not dating this person, she's in the relationship. So it's
She's
not
not
like,
married to him.
right, okay, with married or not, but if she's in a relationship with this person, which means that there's been some type of time that's passed by or whatever, and she's seen different things. I'm just simply saying that we still need to address the situation, whether I think she should not tolerate it. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
I would not tolerate it. But I also think that there should be an expression. Do I think she should just leave and like he has no idea as to why
No,
that
and
she's
that's no,
leaving?
she definitely should let him know that she's not going to accept that, but also be done. I mean, that's just, and if he was like maybe because we're older and I feel like at this age, you should at this point know how to communicate. And if you don't, then that's just who you are. And I'm not about to wait and see if you don't cuss me out again. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, yeah,
So,
you would
yeah,
think. You
yeah,
would think. And
you would think.
sometimes verbal abuse, because I've experienced it where it wasn't cursing out.
Hmm.
It was mind games. It was
Yeah,
mind
belittling,
manipulation. It
mind
was
games. Yeah.
it was doing things to chip away at your self-image, but I was never cussed out. So it
Hmm.
manifests in different ways. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's all I'm saying is that, a part of healing for all of us is to actually, that's part of good communication. The
Mhm.
person, I would say that there's no one on this planet, they will be lying if they do say that if I've ever left their life, they know why.
Right.
I've communicated to them, this is what the problem is for me, and this is not going to work or whatever. Like
And
there
if
was
it,
a space. There was,
right, it depends on the person if they're willing to receive that communication as well.
yeah.
So it's like, you know, but this is what the point of us even having this conversation is: an inability to express or regulate feelings.
Hmm.
So these are things that can cause a relationship to go south. So if someone is not able to do that, and they're not willing to correct it, and even when you have the conversation and you're communicating with them, and they're not, it's just it's kind of a downhill slope, or it's very difficult to be in a relationship with someone who does not know how to express themselves in a healthy way.
Hmm.
um let's see. Females are more emotional than men, period. That's true. I'm not going to disagree with that. um it's not been an easy 20 years. I have learned to communicate the way he does at times. However, I have learned to pick my battles and not push things when I feel like it's not worth it. Okay. That's very true, pick and choosing your battles, because
Yeah.
I definitely was not good at that. In my previous, everything was a battle.
Yeah. Oh, that is so tiresome. Oh my gosh,
Yes,
it's so tiresome. Yeah,
exhausting.
yeah.
Lola, your friend needs to leave that situation because verbal abuse is not good. Uh-oh. Did I? Yeah.
I just personally, I'm not so quick to say just bounce immediately when I don't know if she's addressed it with the person. You know what I mean? And what has been the dynamics of the relationship? Is it are they toxic to each other? Like that probably still means that they need to go. But I'm just not so quick to just say, oh, you need to leave, because that's too little bit of an information for me to personally, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just going off of the word verbal abuse. We don't know their situation, but from what she said, her friend's being verbally abused. So if that's true, and her friend has said he's verbally abusive to her.
Mm-hmm.
um that's a situation that no one should be in. It's just not a good relationship to be in, period.
Hmm. I agree.
um
I agree.
I agree, Carrie. I need words as well, rather than just let your actions speak.
Mm,
Yeah, man, we need to have a conversation.
yeah.
Or can she fight fire? And I bet that the derogatory statements will stop then.
Probably not.
Yeah, he's probably looking for that.
It just turns into a more toxic situation. Both of them in there acting crazy. Like, so
Mhm.
yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Laconic means a person of few words, like a Clint Eastwood cowboy. Oh, okay. So you were saying a man who's a very few words versus Eddie Murphy, who's a man who expresses himself a lot. I guess
Yeah.
a man with a
Yeah.
lot of words. Got it, Daddy.
And that's cool. That's cool. But those few words need to be good communication. That's I don't care if you
No,
don't talk that much, but when you do speak, it needs to be expressing something of substance, especially if
right.
something's going on, you know?
Not the deer. Not when you finish talking. We have the deer in the headlights look. No.
Right.
The hell? What did you just say?
Or a couple of grunts and a burp. Like, no,
Grunt to the
no,
burp.
I need, no, that's not gonna work.
Not at all. Casino, we are not condoning violence here, sir. Next.
Y'all are really funny.
Part of what we call good chemistry is matching communication styles. The loud sister knows how to talk to the quiet brother.
Okay.
Okay. Oh gosh.
Interesting. Okay.
Daddy said, do not accept verbal abuse, period. I
I
agree.
agree.
Hmm. Some women love laconic. So
Yeah.
maybe of mystery, like at the beginning, but when we need to have them important discussions, we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Listen, let me tell you something. Because I like to laugh and all
mm,
of that stuff. I have my quiet moments or whatever. But if I'm laughing at something or whatever, and the dude is just sitting there looking, and it's
it's
awkward. It's like,
awkward.
oh,
Do you not think it's funny? You don't think do
right.
you even like? Do
Like,
you like me?
yeah, it's like, I'm saying that yes, I agree. It has to be the equally yoked thing has to it goes it's so many levels to it. It's so many
Yes,
levels. So I mean,
very
like,
true.
I want to be able to laugh and talk with the person, and
Mhm.
not where they looking at you like, well, what's so funny? Like, and every time they looking at you like this, like, dude,
Yeah,
we do not match, because I have to explain what
yeah, and that's interesting because with dating for me, like it's not just the physical that I'm attracted to; it's how the conversation is flowing.
yes,
So
that's
it's like
huge. Huge.
right. So if you're on a date and there's someone who's like mute, who's not talking, or, you know, like just know that's probably who they are. And if you're not having fun or enjoying the conversation on the first date, now maybe give him a second date because maybe he's nervous or something. But if he's just not talking, and I did date someone like that. Let me tell you, I was bored to tears. Bored to tears. I was like, oh my God, it's so quiet.
Oh
Why
god.
are we talking at all? This is too much. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so let's move on to because we have four more and we're getting close to 10. So let's try to move through these.
Okay.
Okay. Not being aware of emotional triggers is another way that a relationship can go down south. Not being aware of emotional triggers. We kind of touched that earlier. And I think each one has to do with emotional triggers, right? So
Mhm.
I think that if you're not aware of a trigger and you kind of snap off or go off or something makes you react and you're not aware of this or you're not expressing that to your partner that this is where this comes from,
Mhm.
that I think that can cause difficulties in a relationship because they're like, why are you tripping over me giving you a spoon versus a fork? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why is that making you upset? And just like let them know, like this is a trigger for me because I got bopped on the forehead with a spoon every day. You know what I mean? Like, let them know that
Yeah.
you gotta express these things. And this again is not something that you expect your partner to know.
Mhm.
I feel like, and I hate to I'm not putting a blanket over men in general, but this is just part of my experience. But I feel like it's very difficult for men to express their triggers or if
Mhm.
something is triggering for them on
Mhm.
why they feel a certain way when something happens. They just get upset, but you're
Mhm.
like, why are you upset or why is this making you feel some type of way? But they
Mhm.
don't want to say the reason behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where vulnerability also comes in. But what are your thoughts about that, sis?
Yeah, I agree. It all goes but I mean, it all goes back to the communication and the and just being open, again, you want to have that safe space between each other, but both people have to be willing to participate, which is why I always say, and I'm an advocate for, you have to do a certain amount of personal healing before connecting your
Mhm.
life with others, you
Yeah.
know. And this could be even outside of romantic relationships. I've seen friendships suffer
Mhm.
because someone has not healed from daddy issues or mama issues, and now they're making everyone in their circle pay for what they feel like they didn't get as a child. And it's like, listen, uh
Right.
you can't go back and do that over, and it's not my fault or whatever, but you're
Right.
trying to get, and eventually those friendships can really take a lot of damage, and you wonder why people run away. And it's, so it really is, we have to heal as
Yeah.
individuals, and I
We
think it all
definitely.
goes back to that.
Yeah. We definitely have to heal. I remember, and this was recently, I was dating someone. I was extremely frustrated with them because they weren't well aware of their emotional triggers. And
Mhm.
it was due to them not healing or and also not being over their ex. So it was like I was walking on eggshells and
Oh,
always having to reassure and always having to prove myself. And I was like, look, bruh, if you don't get it now, you ain't gonna get it later. Like you need to go heal. You need to go heal. And when you are
yeah.
healed and you're past that person, hit me up. But it was exhausting. And it was very uncomfortable because I am a person who does give grace, and I do want you to talk to me and let me know what I can do better in a relationship, or if there's something that I'm doing that's making you uncomfortable. Absolutely, but I don't need to pay for something that somebody else did, or that something has happened to you in the past that has nothing to do with me. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
like that's where the being aware of your triggers and being healed and knowing, hey, this ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm tripping over here right now. Just give me a moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
don't don't expect that person to take on the beating or the emotional roller coaster that you go through because of the you not being healed.
Yeah. And real healing, because sometimes I've had people get upset with me because I've pointed out, listen, what you are displaying is that you're still not over this situation, whatever. And, they've gotten angry.
Hmm.
They didn't want to accept it. They felt like I was, and I'm like, I I see this, but I'm like, okay, if you say,
Yeah.
whatever. And every time it has proven to be true, the person was not healed. They were not over the situation. And
Yep.
this is when you also have to listen to your own intuition for yourself, so that you don't get pulled into some foolishness
Yes.
because this person want to fake heal and,
Hmm.
or be
Fake
further,
healed.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just, or be further along in their process than they want to be further along, but they're really not. And they don't
Yeah.
want to accept that they're not further along, and
And
that's the
sometimes
problem.
yeah, sometimes that's avoidance, when they don't
Yeah.
want to accept, they want to just jump in a relationship to avoid the hurt that they're still dealing. And I find that a lot of men do this. Like
Yeah.
women, when we go through breakups or, when we are hurt in a previous relationship, I feel like we do take a pause. Most of us do, or we talk to our girlfriends, or we try to get it together before just jumping into something else. But I do feel that men, they jump into another relationship to avoid the pain that they feel in
Feeling.
a
Yeah.
previous relationship. And
Yeah.
it's like then that next person is trying to help you heal, or taking the negative part of you not being healed to prove to to fill that void and that happiness that you feel like you lost. So
Mhm.
I know it was like, I remember in one instance where the guy who I was dating, he was like, what did he say? He said something to me where I was like, "Oh, brother, you ain't healed." Um,
Mhm.
what did he say? I don't know. I'll get back to it. But he said something that it was just like, okay, I know that he is not past this or over this, and I need
Yeah.
to move on. Oh, this is what he did. I think I got upset once. it was one time where I got upset and I didn't cuss him out. I said a cuss word and he was like, see, I knew it. I knew that it was in you. And I was like, oh, he's waiting for the ball to drop, you
Oh,
know,
mhm.
and he would say things like women are, why do women do this? And women are trash and men try to do this, but women don't do this. And it's like,
Oh, the broad
I'm exhausted.
statements, yeah.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. And even
Mhm.
though he would try to act like he was playing, but he wasn't he
No.
wasn't playing. He was for real, and it showed, and it ended pretty quickly. But I didn't date him for that much longer. But it was just like I just remember how exhausted I was. I was like,
Let me tell you something, and I don't know if it's on your list, but pride and ego are
it's
relationship killers. Is that on the list?
yeah, yeah. Let's.
Oh,
We
okay.
got three more, so we'll add in the.
Because it's
Uh,
definitely related to what we was just talking about. Okay.
yes. So the next one is be more like me mentality. I'm gonna say
Okay.
it again. Be more like me mentality. So when I've I've ran into men where, and not even men, I haven't really dated men like this, but I've heard stories from friends where men are like, well, I do it this way and this is how I do it, but why don't you do it that way? You know what I mean? Like the be more like me, think more like me mentality versus letting that person be who they are. I find that with dating and when people are complaining, they're trying to make the person be like what they want them to be or be more like them versus the point of dating is or being in a relationship or whatever is accepting the person for who they are. This is
Mhm.
who they are and not trying to mold them into a you
Yeah.
or what makes you feel more comfortable. That's where the be more like me mentality is, people are individuals, they like different things. So like you might like superhero stuff and another person likes horror flicks, but you making them feel bad because they like horror flicks and not superhero movies. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That type of
Yeah.
stuff. Or you like seafood and they like Mexican food and you try and make them feel stupid and bad because they like Mexican food over seafood. So
Yeah.
just letting that person, I am so uncomfortable when I can't be myself because I love myself. I think I'm pretty dope. Am I perfect? No, but I like who I am. So for
Mhm.
someone to try to make me be like them or try to mold me to being something else that they like, that means you don't like me. So
Yeah.
we don't need to do this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
mhm.
I so keeping it real, I think all of us, anytime you get into a relationship, or even start to get to know someone, there is that learning curve of, oh, really?
Mhm.
You do that? Oh,
Mhm.
okay. If it's completely different than what you do or what you like or whatever the case may be, that's the part of there's always going to be that type of compromise when you're, doing life with someone else, even on a friendship level or whatever. Like you have
Mhm.
to be flexible to not always have your way. You know what
Right.
I mean? And I think that that is probably the problem when you're trying to, like you said, why don't you, whatever it was, be more like me or
Be
whatever.
more like me mentality.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
be more like me more mentality, like it actually cuts off some of the joy of what should be in a relationship, which is you have a whole completely different person that now you can get exposed to so many other things if
Right.
you're open to it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even if so I have a friend that their thing is they love listening to podcasts like that,
Mhm.
and that wasn't really my thing before, but they kind of put me on like, oh, like and it made me get more interested in it. Like I think that if you open yourself up, there's so many possibilities when you're interacting with other people that you can say, oh, okay, that's not something that I probably would have done on my own, but at least trying to
Right.
be open, and especially if you're going to get in any type of significant relationship. uh that I mean, you know
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're signing up for, not to have a carbon copy of yourself, because it's just not possible. you know
Right.
yeah.
I agree. I agree. Like, let them be who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, the next one is lack of self-awareness and accountability. And I think that's where the pride comes in.
Mhm.
Lack of self-awareness and accountability. So that's where, and on all of these issues, like people who are not paying attention, like the feelings part or the be more like me, that all of those, I think that would be a lack of self-awareness. You know, if you're not able to communicate, or even when you're doing something, and which the term is pay attention to the room, you know, pay
Mhm.
attention to what's going on around you.
Mhm.
Um, that is where a lot of people, that's a missing link in some relationships. You know,
Mhm.
I need someone where sometimes you don't have to always say something. You know,
Mhm.
if you are just like a move, or if you're quiet, or if you know you see your mate is feeling some type of way, or if you say something and your mate, you could tell from the body language of your
Mhm.
partner that that hurt their feelings, or
Mhm.
you said something they didn't like,
Mhm.
or you know certain words that they don't, that is triggering for them, or you know,
Mhm.
so it's just like when you do shrug shoulders and you just keep treating that person any type of way, and you're not
Mhm.
being aware of how you're speaking to them or how you're treating them, that is a lack of self-awareness, especially
Mhm.
if you're just going to blow off the handle on the way you communicate, or you're, you know, hitting below the belt when you say things to them.
Mhm.
um, and the accountability piece is not being willing to apologize.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
You
so this is good. This is interesting because this goes into all types of relationships, not just romantic.
know? Right.
So, and so let me say this because we had a recent incident
Yes.
between you and I. We do
Mhm.
have incidents, y'all.
Yes,
We
we
are
do.
sisters.
We are
So
sisters.
we had a recent incident that we had to talk through,
Mhm.
and this is what I will say. This is why the communication piece is so important. The because we there's a lot of things that may be swirling at the same time, and we may not all be self-aware in
Mhm.
that moment, you know what I mean? So this is where like the grace and the communication really is very important when it comes to relationships and maintaining relationships, because the reality is that if you're in relationship with anyone for any significant amount of time, you are going to have some head butting moments.
Right.
That's just what it is. But
Right.
being able to get on the other side of that is going to be based on the communication, the willingness to understand what the other person is thinking and feeling, and then also I just think that sometimes it's like I may not realize that that's a trigger. You
Right.
may not realize that that's a trigger. And if, God forbid, if we're both being triggered at the same freaking time, that's
Right.
just that's when it really just implodes, you know. So
Mhm.
there's times where and that's why I say the not only the healing, but the reality is that I think healing is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
There's some things that may always be a soft spot that you're working through,
Yeah.
and which is why you have to communicate like, listen, I'm trying to get over this, but this is still a thing for me. Like
Yeah.
it's still a thing for me. So please give me grace so that, you know, and understand that this may be something that I'm a little bit more sensitive to. And you know, and if you know what I mean, like so the to me the communication is even, and genuine, honest, consistent communication, not just shut you up communication,
Right.
but where it's authentic and real, you know. I think that's where those bridges are, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And to get back to your point of me and you, when we had our disagreement, and it wasn't really just a disagreement, it was just like um a communication thing,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So, but when we talked, we both stayed calm. You know, it
Mhm.
wasn't, and we listened to each other. There was accountability on both ends. There was apologies, and at the end of the
Mhm.
discussion didn't last long. We were fine,
Right,
but
right.
we have that relationship to where we are vulnerable and we can open up to each other and express ourselves, and
Mhm.
also know that is where it starts with your relationship. Like,
Yeah.
that person needs to trust you to
Mhm.
feel like they can open up and tell you there's a problem.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
and if they're not able to express that to you or comfortably express to you, hey, you had an imperfect moment, it made me feel some type of way, can I talk to you
Mhm.
about it?
Mhm.
Then if the way that you react when they talk to you, that's going to be the setup of how y'all communicate. So
Yeah.
just know that that's where the start is. Like, if you
Mhm.
want someone to feel comfortable open up to you, you need to also be open to listen.
Yes,
Part
yeah.
of communicating is listening as well, and I feel like that was a strength that me and you had in that moment, as we listened to
Mhm.
each other
Yeah.
and we were dismissive, and
Mhm.
we expressed how we feel. We got to the point, and we moved on. So
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's where the self-awareness piece is at, because even though in that moment you weren't aware that I was feeling some type of way,
Mhm.
once I expressed myself, that
Mhm.
self-awareness clicked in, and you were like, okay, yeah, you're right, I could have done this, so
Mhm.
that's where the self-awareness piece, it doesn't
After
mean,
getting triggered.
right,
After
after getting,
getting I did get triggered, and this, you see, and this is where you have to keep it real with the grace in the moment, as well as communicating through it, because I can't
right,
say that I didn't get triggered when she brought it up to me. I'm like,
yeah,
you know,
uh-huh.
you know,
Yes, you
that
did.
I did. I got
Yeah,
triggered. I
yeah,
got triggered because I didn't see where I was wrong, or how I made her feel the way. Because sometimes it's not be about right and wrong. It's
right,
about how did it land on the other person. You know what I
right,
mean? So
exactly,
you don't have to. It's not about being right or wrong. It's okay. I did not intend to harm, but it did harm.
right,
So you gotta let's keep it real. Sometimes you
mhm,
make your initial thing may be like, hold on, why
yeah,
you
yeah,
and we had that
yes.
moment.
And that's where you have to kind of know that you're being triggered.
Mhm,
That you were being triggered, and even in that moment when you were like, "Well, that's not what I meant."
mhm,
The triggering for me is, I told you, words of affirmation
mhm,
is a sensitive part for me. So the way someone
mhm,
communicates to me, even the tone and everything,
mhm,
is triggering for me, just because of how I grew up.
mhm,
So I'm still kind of healing through that. So certain things and certain volumes it's triggering for me. So,
mhm,
for your relationships to continue to grow, and so
mhm,
there won't be resentment, you
mhm.
have to communicate those moments.
Yeah.
You have to be able to express those moments, and be self-aware, and hold accountability if you are wrong, and have accountability when you are wrong. So,
Mhm,
if
mhm,
you and like you said, sis, do you want to tap into the pride part, because you started talking about pride, so we can kind of
mhm,
go into that part of how
mhm.
that can be a make or break with relationships as well.
Yeah.
Pride and ego.
Yeah, yeah. The
Mhm,
pride thing is just like what you were just saying, in that moment, in those moments where there is something happening, right?
mhm,
Um and it can go both ways, meaning that, say for instance, your partner, your friend, your relative, whoever, they come to you and say, listen, blah blah blah, this happened, it made me feel some type of way. You could have a prideful response. "Well,
mhm,
that's your problem," or and start arguing with them, telling them why they're wrong, this, that, the other. That is from a place of pride, right?
mhm.
And that will chip away and kill that relationship. A person can love you and not like you. A person
Right.
can, you know what I mean? Like, it be like, okay, I'm good, I'm out, whatever. But then pride can also manifest the other way. I have been harmed. Something
Mhm,
has hurt my feelings. Something has been, I feel wronged, okay? But my pride will not allow me to say anything, to
mhm.
admit to the other person that I feel this way, because I don't want to be vulnerable. So, and I can say the vulnerability piece has been a struggle for me, because I vulnerability can be uncomfortable for some of us, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
really pride that's hiding behind that. It's pride and fear that's hiding
Mhm.
behind that not wanting to be vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
So all of this is relationship killers. Like all of it is like literally stabbing and chipping away at the relationship that you're trying to have, the healthy, good love relationship with your partner, family, friends,
Mhm.
so yeah, pride is a sneaky, deadly killer.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And even when you have those prideful moments, because I'm sure all of us kind of struggle at times with like, I really don't want to apologize. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you have to remember, like, if this is someone who you care and love,
Mhm.
like, do you want them to continue to feel hurt and pain because you're so busy trying to prove a point, you
Yeah.
know? Or
Yeah.
and do you want this to be a long-term thing of them in your life and you want it to be healthy? So
Mhm.
put that pride to the side and be like, you know what? I apologize. I don't
Mhm.
want you to, especially when you care and love someone. Like it shouldn't give you, it should make you want to win when you continue to hurt that person. That's
Yeah.
not a win,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that person gonna give you the side eye when they like, oh, for real. So you just good with this. You good with
Right.
having me feel this way. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in those, okay, bet. We need the help of the whole. Mama Shabita said we need the help of the Holy Spirit to know what to say and when and how to say it. He loves us and knows how to fix every situation. If he can get us to cooperate with him, laugh out loud. Thanks, God. Got it.
It's
You're
very true.
right. Triggers are deep inner man and woman stuff. Witness Will Smith. Most people are unaware of their triggers. Yeah,
Mm.
that was a major trigger for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
he should maybe when everything simmers down. I don't think he needs to do a red table talk with Jada because everybody gonna be focused on every word that come out her mouth and be like, see, she ain't good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, with that whole thing, he really needs to talk about triggers. I think the
Yeah.
subject should be triggers and the shock factor on how he shocked him damn self going up there and slapping Chris Rock.
I would love for him to and Chris Rock to sit down. And
I don't know.
but I hope that they've had a private conversation, but I think it would be deeply healing and amazing if they did a public one once they got to the place that and I hope that they do get to the place that
Well,
they're able to, but that would be amazing, if
yes.
they could.
Well, it would have to be self-awareness and accountability on Will Smith, and also with Chris Rock, the pride.
The
He would have
pride.
to,
Yeah, the
and
pride because now, I mean, this is a man. A man done slapped me on international
right,
television, so this
right.
is a pride moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably maybe be like 10 years from now they might have that conversation. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon, but
Yeah.
maybe
It
10
probably
years.
doesn't need to anytime soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nah.
let it
Let it
breathe.
simmer down. But yes, Daddy, triggers are deep inner man and woman stuff. It's very, very true.
Yeah.
Um, Natasha says, lack of accountability grinds my gears. It is a serious trigger for me, especially in my family. I get it,
Mm,
girl.
yes.
It's like
Yeah.
you really are not gonna be, you're really not gonna take responsibility for what just happened. You're just gonna act like you have nothing to do. It's that irritates me too. That's to the point where you just be like, you know what, I'm not even gonna communicate.
Yeah, it happens a lot in families. We take a lot of liberties in families. Especially like I said, there's a level of dysfunction in every family, it just depends on how okay, what
Speaking of family, so I don't trust my family at all. We can't talk. I want to keep my ticket to heaven, so I keep my distance.
Tasha. Oh God, girl, we gonna need some okay, so we gonna need some sister sessions.
Yes, we'll have to have some sister sessions with Tasha.
That's my girl. That's why I say y'all we gonna have to have some sidebar,
Keeping it real though. We appreciate you
we
keeping
need
it
to
real.
yeah, we need to talk through some things apparently.
um, okay, London says, darn it, I missed a lot of broadcasts. I'll be looking at this once it's over. Yes, tune in.
Oh,
It'll be on the subscribe and also while you guys are here, subscribe and like, please. Subscribe and
yes,
like.
please do.
Um, oh, Nice. Thank you,
Oh,
London. We appreciate that.
yes. Awesome, London. Thank you for
Yes.
joining us, and we appreciate
Yes,
you watching.
we really do. We appreciate you. Daddy says insecurity is a source of a runaway ego and petty pride. And this is a major problem because men mature slower than women. Thus, you have a
Mm.
grown woman with a little boy. That happens a lot, child.
A
Okay.
man said it. A
A
man
man
said
said it.
it.
A
We
very
did not
wise
pay
man.
him. We did not pay him.
It didn't. This is why I like my silver foxes. I like my older gentlemen.
Listen, I've always gone a little bit older. I
Yeah.
mean literally I've always gone a little bit older, and but I've
Yeah.
learned age is none but
It's
a
still just a
number.
number. Yeah.
Maturity does not
But
happen by
yes,
osmosis.
yes, yes. Well, the last one is a lack of trust or jealousy
Mm,
can ruin a relationship.
yeah.
That I mean, if you have no trust and there's that is a major turnoff. And let me tell you, I was that person. I was
Mm,
that person in my relationships due to insecurities, not being healed. I didn't trust him. I was jealous when he would go out. There was jealousy there, and I can definitely say that now that I'm in this place that I'm in now. But I'm sure that was exhausting. You
mm.
know. Um,
What how did that manifest in the relationship? Mm,
oh gosh. Me being not trusting and not um being jealous,
mhm,
we weren't friends. Like
mhm,
there was like two different lives. He lied to me to avoid my reaction, you know.
mm. Yeah,
Um
yeah.
he couldn't we didn't have that open communication like we're talking about now.
Mm,
He wasn't communicating to me, and if he did, my reaction was not a healthy reaction.
mhm.
Um, I was the type of communicator where you needed to say what I wanted to hear to make
Oh,
me feel better. And
okay.
if you weren't saying what I wanted to hear to make me feel better, then I'm going to act like a brat, or I'm reacting in a way that I'm not even really tapping into your feelings or how you feel.
Mm,
It's about me and my feelings, and that's where the lack of trust and jealousy. I mean, it's a thing,
yeah.
and honestly, if that is within your relationships, you need to fix that quick because it is very unattractive. Because I've been on the other side where someone didn't trust me and they were jealous. And I
Mm.
was completely turned off. At first, I thought it was cute, like, oh, you're a little jealous. But then it was like, okay, I'm tired of explaining myself and I'm
Yeah.
not going to anymore. And, it is what it is. Because at one point, you're like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. I don't care at this point. I'm going to do
Yeah.
me, do what I want to do, and I'm really not going to care about your
Yeah.
feelings. So,
Yeah.
because it's a you thing.
Mhm.
When there's jealousy and there's a lack of trust. If that person is trying, now I get if for me, infidelity was involved, but previous of the infidelity, I was like that.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that they should have cheated, but I'm
Mhm.
saying that it wasn't easy to be in a relationship. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I was it just wasn't easy. It wasn't pleasant, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's fun.
I'm so glad that you have healed from that and recognized and and have acknowledged and changed from that, and even
Yeah,
understanding that what you were capable of then, and so you can be completely self-aware going forward, because I'm telling you, I've been on the other end of that. Like, I've never it takes too much energy for me to be like, I can't be, if I don't trust you, I can't be with you, so
right.
I just don't. But I have been on the other end of it, and I ain't do nothing.
Yeah,
I didn't do, and it really was exhausting. It was
yeah.
exhausting. I mean, constant drama,
Mhm.
constant. I mean, out of nowhere, something can pop off because this person is in a jealous mode, or they don't want nobody else talking to you, or they see you. I mean, speaking to someone, that type of foolishness.
Yeah.
Um, you didn't do something they wanted you to do. Like, I have stories for days. And it really was exhausting, and it really made me understand that um I I knew that it wasn't ultimately a match
Mhm.
because I knew life would be that way. And I would if I had stayed in that relationship, um eh, my life would have turned out a lot differently. I wouldn't have been able to be the full expression of myself
Oh, yeah.
because of the jealousy, the insecurities, the me having to do backflips and fighting the
Mhm.
power. But we
Mhm.
wasn't no physical fighting. I don't play that. No
Yeah.
physical fighting. But just me having to stand my ground,
Mhm.
with this person because of and so it really, oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
exhausting is the word, and it's horrible because you really love the person.
Yeah.
You listen. What,
You're like,
like, this is a time waster. Like, why are we,
yeah,
wasting time with the foolishness?
right.
So
And
yeah.
that's why the person who's jealous, if you're in a relationship and you're constantly being the person who is jealous, you really need to look within yourself and ask why.
Mhm.
Where's this coming from? Did they do? And I remember talking to Daddy while I would go through my jealous rage and or talk to some older people and see what I'm trying to justify my craziness. And Daddy's like, so what exactly did he do?
Right.
Like, where are the facts? Because I feel like you're creating this in your head. Like, what
Yeah.
exactly happened? I'm like, well, because he answered his phone and okay, so maybe he's asleep. Or maybe his phone died. Or like, why does it always have to be he's doing something negative, or he's with some other chick, or and so at the moment I wasn't trying to hear nothing. I was like, no, he's cheating.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. In which, I mean, eventually he did. I don't know if he was in the multiple times I thought he was, but eventually that did happen. But I would always go there to the negative
Mhm.
of if something happened that I didn't have control of
Mhm.
because I'm so busy trying to protect myself from being hurt due
Mhm.
to things that I saw throughout my childhood, which is very triggering.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
this is why, as you notice, every time each section that we've talked about relates to the other one, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, I think what makes a good relationship, period, is you being healed within yourself and really knowing who you are, loving yourself, being self-aware, and loving that person unconditionally and being vulnerable and being open,
Mhm.
having that great communication. And that takes work to get to that with a specific, like this isn't going to happen on date one.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
talking about actual relationships, things that can end a relationship, not the
Mhm.
person you're dating, but actual relationship.
Yeah.
So when you are finally meeting that person that you've connected with, try to come back to this video
Mhm.
and do the check off list and think about, okay, our relationship seems to be going south. I wonder what's going on. These are areas that can in eventually, if it keeps happening, can cause your relationship to go south. So we
Yeah.
want you all to have some good love. So
Yeah.
it's like literally 30 minutes past the hour. We had
Got
a
a little deep. Got a little deep.
good. So, sis, do you have any last words before we say goodbye?
The only thing that I will reiterate on all of these pieces is to the self-awareness and communication piece, and the squashing of pride and ego, to me, are the most important things, because it really, like, a person can genuinely love you. A person
Mhm.
can genuinely want to be with you for life, and you will run them away
Yep.
and then reinforce your bitterness if you don't deal with self. So
Yep.
I'm telling you, y'all, I mean, that's for all of us. We have
Mhm.
to do the work. I say Jesus in therapy, Jesus
Yes.
in therapy, okay?
Jesus in therapy. Yes.
We have to do the work because, good love is ours to have, but we can, the self-sabotaging. So yeah, that's what I would say. Do your work. It's our individual responsibilities to do the work, because somebody can love us and I
Yep.
can't do it because I love myself too. And so I'm not
Yes.
gonna let you just chip away at my soul for life.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm gonna backdoor what you're saying. We want to have good love, but it does take work, and you can't expect that person to be the only one that's bringing in that good love. It does take accountability. It does take healing, and like you said, sis, earlier, healing is a constant thing.
Mhm.
So you're not going to be fully healed and know exactly what to do when you're in a relationship. But these are things that you can be aware of to be able to continue building into that relationship so it can last and so it can be beautiful, because it can be. You're going to go
Yeah.
through stuff, you're going to argue, you're going to have conflict, you're going to go through ups and downs. But the thing is, when you have your downs, you're going to know how to get back up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So these things, if you're not aware of what we just discussed, then that's when you'll go down and then lower and then lower and lower than where your relationship has ended. And we have both expressed, we have been on both sides of these things. And I know that I have definitely been the sabotager of relationships. I can't say that I lost a good thing. I'm just saying. Um, but those of you who do have something good, yeah, no shade, a little bit of shade. For those of you who do have a good brother or sister that you're dating, um, you know, these are things that you have to be aware of so you can be able to have a healthy, good relationship. And please, like, work on these things so you can have that beautiful love. Or you're gonna be very regretful and be like, "Damn, I
Yeah.
should have did this and this. I messed up on that. I was talking. I should have communicated." So we
Oh,
just go
sister.
ahead.
Okay, one last thing. You said dating, but I want to raise the red flag for you good married people.
Married folks,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
There are marriages that have hung on by a thread for like 20 years, 30 years, etc., but they are imploding, they're rotting in the inside, and eventually they too go by the wayside.
Yeah.
So don't think just because you have made it down the aisle and whatever, the quality of your marriage is very important. And just because someone is married to you doesn't we are witnesses of
Mm-hmm.
being married and now divorced for a
Mm-hmm.
number of reasons. Like you have to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Especially if you're married.
Yes.
Especially if you're married. Do not think that you can just lay back and like, okay, we just gonna float along. No, you
Yes.
have to continue to do the work. You have
Yeah.
to if you want to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And don't and that's very true, because we were talking about dating. This is even more so important in marriages, and I know, like, when people, life gets busy, so you have your kids, you have your family, and then, like you said, you just sit back and you're like, okay, well, we're good, we're gonna ride this through. But you got to still tap into each other and build with each other.
Mhm.
You see it all the time. I see people who've been married for a long time, and it just seems like they don't even like each other. They just kind of just floating, you know. Or you speaking negative about your mate in front of people, and oh, you still mad at them for something they did 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
because you know they're not going nowhere. Like, don't nobody want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah.
So we can go on and on.
I
So
know.
thank you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in with us tonight and staying a little bit later. We really do hope you enjoyed this topic. Please like and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, we're here every Tuesday, and we plan to see y'all next Tuesday. So thank you for tuning in to Good Love.
Yes. Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.